Hello, everyone, and welcome to VMblog's coverage of the upcoming IGEL Disrupt 2023 event that's taking place in Nashville. And today we're happy to be discussing that upcoming event with our friend Carl Gersh, the Vice President of North America Marketing at IGEL. Carl, it's great to speak with you today.
Excellent, David. Great to see you again, and thanks for having me on.
So Brian and I, we reached out to you in hopes of learning more about the upcoming IGEL Disrupt event. Maybe to start things off, maybe kick it off by telling us first a little bit about what the event is all about.
Sure, you bet. So look, as we're in 2023, it would be an understatement to say that we haven't seen traumatic change over the past 3 years, across the world, especially as it impacts IT, right? So hybrid work is now the new reality. We're seeing that across industries, across geographies. Work has been transformed. And at the crux of all this is end user computing, right? It is that point in which the individual is interfacing with the systems, right? The end user is interfacing with the systems. And what we see at IGEL is that EUC really needs a specific event where we can bring together all of the players within the ecosystem, right? All the vendors, the resellers, and most importantly, the customers, right? The IT professionals who are deploying this technology to get together to share ideas, to collaborate, to talk about what's new, what's upcoming, and to really plot our course forward. And that's what Disrupt is all about. I mean, it's funny if you think about it, because we kicked off Disrupt about 6 years ago, and the idea was looking at how IGEL was a disruptor in end-user computing. But I'd like to think about the concept of Disrupt in 2023 to really look at everything that's happened in the past 3 years and how we get through this change, this upheaval, and come out all the better. And that's what Disrupt is all about. I mean, I appreciate you saying IGEL Disrupt. Certainly we organize it. But the truth is, with over 30 different participants in the event itself, it really is a forum for everyone to come together, and it's an event like kind of the participants. It's not all about IGEL the whole time.
Last year, obviously, you talked about some of the changes that have happened. You did a lot of smaller multi-city tours, and this year you're back to having two large events, one in Nashville and one in the EU. Why the change?
Sure. So in 2022, we looked at, we were talking to our customers, and there was definitely a desire to get back together in person, but there was some apprehension about that as well, right? We were emerging from the pandemic. So we thought, listen, why don't we go out to the people where they live, right, to make it easy? And we put together the roadshow. We visited 12 cities across North America, 12 cities in EMEA. The response was pretty remarkable. I had the pleasure of participating in that roadshow, and I'll say that every single city we visited, not just the major metros, right? Certainly Boston, New York, LA was packed, but Pittsburgh was packed. Minneapolis was packed. Charlotte was packed. And we realized was people really want to get together. We want to be able to spend time together to share ideas and be in each other's presence, right? It's something I think we've all felt in the past since we had to go into lockdown. So we looked at 2023. We thought, do we want to do another roadshow, or do we want to get everyone back together in one place? And there's some benefits when we get everyone together in one place, right? We call this year is the year of yes, right? It's about being bigger, it's being braver, being bolder. And this is what Disrupt's all about. So we get everyone together, there's more energy, right? We get the energy of all those people from across the country being in one room and collaborating. It means that we can invest our resources and our time to make sure this event, we pull out all the stops. And believe me, we are pulling out all the stops. There was not one stop that we did not evaluate and figure out a way to pull. And finally, for the vendors that participate, right? Because as I said, it's all connected. End user computing is all connected. So for us to go out and get the top minds from the various vendors that are sponsoring this, when there's one event, it's a lot easier to get them together. So we really can make sure that our participants, our guests, are hearing from the best of the best. So those are, I think, the three reasons, right? More energy, more synergy, one could say. The ability to get the best of the best in terms of the speakers, right? And truly, our aim is that this is the event for 2023. If you work in computing, if you're in end user computing, certainly, but even if you're something tangential, if you're in infrastructure, you're in storage, whatever else, this is the event really to come to, where you're gonna get a chance to interact with all the leading vendors who are shaping the future of our industry.
Now, Carl, for years I've been conversations with Jed. And I've always said that, in my mind, as well as everyone in the industry, really, I mean, we've all kind of considered Disrupt to be that ultimate EUC event that's out there. You guys have definitely filled the niche by by creating Disrupt all those years ago. And, you know, to Brian's point, you guys are moving back to a two-city event. You've completed the one in Munich. Brian and I are excited. We're going to be there in Nashville. Maybe can you tell the audience who's watching this, maybe just a little bit about what happened at the Munich event and what attendees that are planning to go are hopefully interested in learning more about what's going to happen in Nashville?
Yeah, you bet. And I'll say this, the structure, when we think about these events, we think we start with the participant. And that might seem like an obvious statement, but the truth is a lot of times organizations like vendors will put together an event and they make a list of what do we want to talk about at the event. And then hopefully that overlaps with what the audience wants to hear. But at IGEL, we start with the audience member. We say, okay, if I'm an audience member, what is going to make this really worthwhile for us? So first and foremost, right, we want to make sure that we have representation from across the industry. And by coming to Disrupt in Nashville, what we saw in Disrupt in Munich was that there is no other event that I can think of, and I've been doing this for over 30 years, right? With the exception maybe the Networlds and Interops of years past, right? There's no other event where you're going to find, you know, Microsoft sharing a stage with Citrix, sharing a stage with Amazon, sharing a stage with VMware, right? Now at IGEL, we work with all those vendors. You know, we have I think very good relations with all those vendors, right? And if you're in the business of deploying technology within your organization, it behooves you to understand you may be a Citrix shop, but it behooves you to understand what is Microsoft doing. Come to one event, spend 3 days with us, you're going to learn all that. And it's not just the cloud providers. We also have all the leading hardware manufacturers. IGEL made a pretty big announcement earlier this month, or last month, in February, that we're exiting the hardware business. So IGEL is no longer manufacturing hardware. We did that in part because we have such strong relationships and we've seen the business grow so much with LG, with Lenovo, and with HP, right? And they'll all be joining us as well at Disrupt, right? So you may be a VMware shop, you know, that loves Lenovo, and that's great. And you're going to get to see both of them there. But if you want to keep an eye on what's happening, you know, across the industry, this is going to give you that bird's eye view. We also have some of our top resellers there who are going to talk about the key deployments they've done. And I mean, again, they've forgotten more around end user computing than I think most people have ever known. And we have a whole group of about 20 different ecosystem vendors, organizations like Printer Logic, which I know printing, like, no, it's not the most exciting topic sometimes, although my Printer Logic friends would probably disagree, right? But printing's important, right? User experience monitoring through organizations like ControlUp, right? MSP offerings through organizations like Nerdio. I mean, again, one event, all those players in one spot, you know, 3 days, just action packed. And that, in a sense, we could have been content with that. We said, hey, that's pretty good. But we've also decided to add to that event, you know, a bunch of technical boot camps. So if you arrive a day early, we're going to have technical boot camps. Maybe you want to brush up on the latest from Microsoft. Great place to do it. Maybe you want to brush up on the latest from Microsoft and VMware. You can go to 2 different trade shows, or you can come to Disrupt. I know I sound a little breathless about this, but I'm pretty excited because the idea of adding the technical boot camps, the idea of having the education lounge, things like that, were things that we thought, you know, we thought would add great value to the participants, right? We structured this around, if I work in EUC, what is everything I'd want to get out of an event, and we put it in there. And I even talked about like all the fun stuff we've got planned, but believe me, we got some parties, we got a lot of really fun things to do, chances for people to get out again. It's been a long 3 years of watching Netflix and being relegated to our homes. So we're going to get together. We're going to make some noise. We're going to have a good time. Nashville is a phenomenal city to go out and have a good time.
Yeah, me and David love Nashville. I mean, who doesn't love Nashville with all the music? Since this event has really always been focused around EUC, let's stick with that theme, and maybe you could tell us some of the hot topics in the end user computing right now.
Well, that's a great question, Brian. So I'll reference, we talked earlier about the roadshow, right? So we got, you know, again, I was fortunate. I got a chance to tour the country last year. We did part of it in the spring, and then we did the other part in the fall, so 6 and 6. And as we went out there and we had a chance to talk to end users, right, to the people who are deploying the technology, we asked some questions. We asked some questions like, what's keeping you up at night? What do you see on the horizon as challenges you're going to have to face? And I would say is this, it probably comes down to about six key challenges. Right. First and foremost, mentioned already, the concept of hybrid work. But if anyone tells you we're going back, unless they get a DeLorean that can do 88, we're not going back, folks. Right. We are going to move forward. Time moves forward. I studied philosophy in college. It informs a little bit of what I do today. Right. So as we look forward and we think about things like hybrid work, right? Gartner estimates that there was about over 80-something% of people working remote during COVID. Okay, no kidding, right? And that dipped into the 70s in 2022. And we're seeing but they're projecting that to increase. So it'll be around 75% in 2026, right? That people either working fully remote, working partially remote. So understanding how to build technology for that is really important, especially given the fact that the audience is changing, right? Again, when we were out, at the Disrupt Roadshow, I said, if you're building technology for me, and no offense, David, but for you or Brian, you're building for the wrong guys. Because we have more entrants are coming in that are millennials, that are digital natives, and they have different sets of expectations. So hybrid work and how to accommodate that is number one, I think, top and on everyone's mind. Followed probably very closely by endpoint security. And perhaps I could just say endpoint security, put a pin in it. We all know that that's critically important. And it's changing, again, in this hybrid work world. So understanding how to secure your enterprise, right, how to protect your organization is top of mind. The third area is endpoint management, perhaps the bread and butter for IGEL, something we've talked to customers and we know a tremendous amount about, right? And it has changed, though, when endpoints were when you gave everyone the same exact device and they were on network in the same building, more or less, or same group of buildings, it was pretty easy. But that's all been thrown up in the air. So endpoint management, critically important. The other three things I think are interesting is the fact that in 2020, right, I call it the PC refresh tsunami, right? Because I'm fanciful, I like marketing, right? But the truth is, let's think about this. In 2020, everyone had to go home and organizations went out and bought devices. And if you're in it, they bought whatever they get their hands on. Consumer devices, like kids' devices, didn't matter. They needed mobile devices by the truckload, and we were in the middle of a supply chain shortage. Now, 2020 was 3 years ago. If you're working on end-user computing, there's a magic number. 3 to 5 years is your PC refresh cycle. That means that suddenly, in the next 3 years, you are going to have a ton of devices you have to figure out what to do with. And guess what? No one has funding to replace all of those devices again. So figuring out how to balance that, top of mind. Sustainability as well. Now, we hear that a little bit more in Europe. I'd love for the US to take more of a leading role in sustainability, but e-waste is the largest form of trash that gets generated in this day and age, right? So figuring out what to do around sustainability. Again, in the EU, we're seeing legislation around that. In the US, it's more governance by the organizations. But e-waste and sustainability is important. And then last, I said there were 6 things, right? So hybrid work, end user security, endpoint management, what to do about the PC refresh, and sustainability are 5. The number 6 one is perhaps the most important and maybe the most overlooked, but that's the user experience. Right? I was talking with a friend and I was saying that we were discussing the fact that user experience, if we take a broader view of user experience, it used to be everything about when you went to work. It was the cool coffee maker in the break room. But when people don't go to work anymore, or they're working hybrid, you can't necessarily, Hawaiian Shirt Friday doesn't have the same power when we're sitting at home, right? So the user experience model, the thinking has to shift to how to deliver a great user experience, right? And again, that's where organizations like ControlUp and some of the partners we have in the ecosystem that can do that monitoring, if you can help organizations deliver great user experience is really important as well. So I think those 6 things, I know it's a lot. I would love it to be 3, but the reality is we work in a complicated business. Those 6 things I think are really top of mind for our audience.
Now, you talked about those 6 things. I'm thinking about the challenges that companies are facing in this space right now in the whole end user computing space. How can those problems, the challenges, how they can solve them on their side. But I want to see. I know that Disrupt has morphed and grown over the years. It's like you said, it's no longer just an IGEL focused thing. Not that really to me ever was, going back to the very first one that I went to in Austin, but it's a multi-vendor show focused on end user computing. But while we have you here, I just want to see, thinking about those challenges that companies are facing, maybe you can talk about what IGEL's doing in the space to help. I know you mentioned you've gotten out of the hardware side of business, but maybe you can kind of talk about what you guys do with the software and how you're helping solve some of these challenges.
Yeah, you bet. So IGEL is at its core, we are an operating system company. Maybe we always were, but now definitively in 2023, we definitely are, right? We make an operating system for endpoints. At Disrupt, we've announced in Munich that we'll be releasing the next version of our operating system, OS 12. But it's more than just OS 12. With the release of OS 12 and our Universal Management Suite, which is also being, will be designated as UMS 12, we're releasing really what we call a platform, and that platform is called Cosmos. And Cosmos is a way to think about the operating system in conjunction with the management suite, in conjunction with the other services you need to deliver, to provide a complete end user compute solution for the endpoint. So within Cosmos, we have things like onboarding, like services, like onboarding services and analytic services and things like that go in conjunction with our UMS, in conjunction with our operating systems. And I will say this because I'm very excited about what we've got with OS 12, IGEL OS 12. But the truth is, OS 11 is still a very, very valid operating system. It's going to be so for the next couple of years for organizations. And the cool thing about Cosmos as a platform is that you can manage both of those using our new UMS. Now, I got into this industry because I got a PC back in the mid 80s and didn't know what to do with it, right? So I always like to think that my orientation, my thinking about technology, about enterprise technology starts with the device. And the truth is, I think for a lot of people it is. I think, like I always say that you can have the fastest network and the best servers in the world, but the person is on a device that can't handle it, it doesn't do much good. Right. So we're going to be, at Disrupt and where IGEL fits in is as the operating system designed for today's modern enterprise, trying to address hybrid work in a secure fashion while saving money. Right. It puts us really at kind of it's the keystone of what needs to be built out. Now, if you think about the concept of keystone, right? It's the top of the bridge, it's the top of an arch, and you need all those other pieces because keystone, you put it up there and let go, it just falls right down. Right. A keystone is supported by all those other technologies that go about delivering that arch. And that's where I think IGEL sits as well. We're the keystone. We're not everything, right? You need a cloud provider like Citrix, like VMware, like Microsoft, right? You need to have the right infrastructure like Nutanix or any other infrastructure vendors. Nutanix is a sponsor, right? You need the right endpoint hardware, right? LG, I've been consistently impressed with LG's ability to, they've learned so much from the consumer space that they're now, parlaying into what they're delivering in the enterprise space. And consumers are expecting their work device to give them a parity performance, right? Think about HP, who's been making devices, almost since the start of the industry, perhaps even before the start of the industry, if you think about it, right? If you think about Lenovo, I can't say they're the new guys anymore, right? That makes me sound really old because they're the new guys as of like 20-something years ago. But, Lenovo, with the breadth of technology they bring to bear, both in the server and the endpoint space, right? We got the leaders in devices. And then again, we've got some of the top resellers, I'd say globally, certainly in the US. I have good knowledge about that. And then all the other pieces that go into that. So, I think IGEL sits as the keystone to it. And we're held high by all these other technologies that, that put together the complete solution.
It sounds like you have a great lineup of companies that are going to be at your show and speakers. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about who they can expect to see there and also who's going to be speaking on the main stage.
Sure. So in addition to the leaders from the ecosystem companies, we do have Mr. Mark Mills come in. So Mark is a published author. He's written several best-selling books. His most recent best-selling book is Around the Cloud Revolution. He talks about ushering in a roaring 20s, not the 1920s, but the 2020s being, really enabled by cloud computing. Again, we had a chance to see him speak in Munich. Very, very smart guy, a lot of really interesting ideas, great perspective on what's going on. So we have Mr. Mark Mills, who'll be presenting. In addition, Jet Air's our CEO, Matthias Haas, our CTO, will be presenting. They'll be talking about Cosmos and the advances we've made there. We have leaders from like the leading folks from Citrix, like Sridhar, Jitendra, who are the folks that are kind of, as Citrix is navigating their new position, right, their new ownership. They'll be coming out, talking about roadmap, talking about what to expect from Citrix in the future. Again, if people are counting Citrix out, I think they're a little premature on that. Citrix has got some really, really interesting things that they're doing. They've got a renewed focus and they are super energized. We have folks like from VMware as well. And so we have some of the leading guys like Terry Vaughn from VMware who'll be presenting. We have Kevin Goodman from Amazon. We have Scott Manchester from Microsoft. It's a who's who of speakers. So I'm sure I'm forgetting many others. Oh, well, of course, perhaps most importantly, my old CEO, Mark Templeton will be there presenting. So if anyone has fond memories of Synergy's past, getting a chance to see Mark back up on main stage, talking about his vision, what he's learned, what he sees ahead, I think is going to be really interesting. We have Tarkan Maynard from Nutanix. He's the chief commercial officer, and the list goes on and on. I do encourage everyone to check out the Disrupt main page. I give you good overview of everyone that's presenting. I'm forgetting so many people. I feel like it's an Academy Award like acceptance speech.
Yeah, and kind of like I don't want to take away from any of the great lineup of speakers that are going to be there, but me personally, I'm excited to once again see Mark Templeton up on stage talking to the crowd. It'll bring back fond memories of the old Citrix Synergy days. So again, not to take anything away, great lineup, but when I saw Mark Templeton's name, I was like, hey, that's gonna a nice throwback, and to hear what he has to say in 2023 is pretty exciting.
Yeah, I'll say I'm a former Citrix myself. I spent several years at Citrix. I had the opportunity to actually work on the Synergy show. That's a big show. There's a lot of people involved, but there is a certain thrill. I mean, not only do we have Mark, we also have Brad Peterson, who's now at WorkSpot. So it's sort of like the band's back together in a way, right? They're not presenting together, but to see Mark and Brad in the same place was pretty cool. And again, I got a chance to see Mark and catch up a little bit in Munich. He's doing great. Still has just a ton of vision and charisma, and the years I spent at Citrix working with Mark were pretty remarkable. So I agree with you. It was I almost, maybe I can say I got goosebumps seeing him back up there a little bit. It was definitely, you feel the energy's back, the mojo's back when Mark's out there talking to folks.
Now, I don't want to alarm anyone. I mean, the show is fast approaching. It's it's beginning of April. And but before we let you go, just if you could let folks know, where can they go if they want to find out more info about the show? How can they sign up, get registered? Obviously, I know it's not too late, but we really want to tell folks, if you're interested in learning more, come learn more, sign up, and come out to Nashville. As you said, it's a great city. It's time to get back in person and get off of Zoom. With these events, get back live in person, have a drink, listen to some music, come hear folks face to face, shake some hands, and whatnot. But how can folks get registered?
Sure. Registration is pretty straightforward. Visit disrupteuc.com. That's www.disrupteuc.com. Click on the Nashville. There's a little Nashville button there. Click on that, and it'll walk you through the registration process. Tickets are $399, but if you use the code POWER, or I think we gave you guys a code as well at VMblog, you can use the code. It'll drop that price down to $159. So it's very, very economical. We have a room block set up for the hotel rooms. We're right at the Gaylord. It's a beautiful facility. But again, visit www.disrupteuc.com, and you can get registered right away for the show. And you'll be amazed at the energy and just how great it is to be around people. It's sometimes just the conversations in between sessions that you get to have, where you might get that little insight or make a new contact that I think makes it all really worthwhile. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys there.
Yeah, we're excited about the show and look forward to seeing you as well.